Yeah. So,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah. Now they've
yeah.
advised.
I didn't press OK.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well,
Um.
I thought we probably ought to talk about what a little bit about, what we plan to do. And I've still got
Yeah.
a Zoom problem, with my internet.
Yeah.
Uh, I had a meeting the other day and it crashed out 4 times, in an hour. They're putting in a new line for a new service provider, but it won't come till another 10 days, I don't think. So I
Oh,
just wondered if we should, I don't know, just carry on and see what happens, eh?
yeah. We'll carry on and see what happens here. I think it might be useful, for us just for 5 minutes, spend a little bit, introducing who we are, what you are.
Oh, okay.
But if people who have not met you before, um, if you in a brief intro, who's Conrad, who's Lucas?
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to start
Um,
that?
yeah, I'll go. My name is Conrad Aldridge. I live in the UK, in Yorkshire. I'm married with 5 children, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. We had a family gathering yesterday to celebrate my 80th birthday, and 27 people showed up, all close relatives, including my brother and his wife from Scotland. We had a very nice lunch together and a few hours getting to meet each other again. Getting 27 members of the family together is not easy, but my daughter Marina, she's well good at organising these family events for us because it takes somebody, doesn't it, to make
Uh,
things happen, as we find in all aspects of life, I guess. I've been a Subud member since 1963. I joined then because I had an uncle who was in Subud and he thought I might be interested. And I was 18 and slipped into it without giving it any real thought or consideration about how it might impact my life. I just thought it sounded interesting. I read a book. I think it was Virendra Bitachi's book, Reporter in Subud, that said, here was something that could put you in touch with the power of Almighty God and show you what to do with your life. And I thought at 18, why not? I mean, why wouldn't one? If it was true, why wouldn't you want that? And I was fortunate in that I had an uncle, an aunt, and 1 or 2 other members of the family already interested or joining Subud at that stage. And I thought, well, sounds all right to me. I'll give it a go. And so I just stepped in without understanding anything about it. Even things like the opening and all that, what was going to happen, I had no idea. And I just happened to be visiting London, and my uncle said, I think they're opening some people tonight. Do you fancy it? And I said, why not? So the next thing I knew, I was being opened. And actually, I've done Latian twice a week ever since, because I was fortunate that the opening itself was quite profound for me. I mean, I had no doubt at the end of it that something really significant had happened in my life, you know. And I sort of wandered around for a few days afterwards in a kind of haze and thinking, my goodness, what's going on? Anyway, so that was then. And I'm still very much committed. And as you know, a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, in the end of July, I got this job in Subud of promoting Subud enterprise around the world, which is about how to encourage Subud members to put the Lasian into their everyday lives and show the benefit for themselves, for society, and for Subud, for people actually following God's will in their life. So it takes courage, but it's essential for all those 3 reasons, for themselves, for society, and for Seward's development in the world. So that's me. How about you, Lucas? You want to say something?
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm very much the junior partner here. Uh,
I don't think so.
Only being a miserable 75. I can't compare, and I certainly don't have 27 descendants. But my story, I studied architecture, and at the end of my studies, I heard about Seward, and it was rather tongue-in-cheek promoted to me as a new religion for architects. So I thought, hey, we should do that. So I joined in, I think it was 1971 or two, something like that, a while ago, and I, I, I agree. At the opening, I didn't really feel there was very much happening at the opening, but in retrospect, fairly soon after, I realized that this was the first time that I had concrete proof that I had a soul which was separate from the body. And, the soul actually had its own life, it had a different life than the pedestrian one that I was involved in. And so that was a remarkable experience, which has carried me through to today. And I take that for granted that there is this other life. And it has all sorts of philosophical consequences about what are we doing here? What is the purpose of our lives? I started actually the reason that I joined Seward. So I didn't answer this. What was interesting to me was that when I read about and heard about Seward, what attracted me that it had no dogma, it had no gurus, it had no leader, and it was free, and it encouraged outward activity. So I kind of saw it as a place for the courageous. That I thought, well, hey, that's my bag. I'll join and do that. So I've always felt that. I've had many jobs in Seward, running the various bits of the organisation, and I've had a varied life of generally to do with buildings, in designing them, developing them, building them. So I've made my life in that, and I'm still employed doing that. But this, going back to what I experienced at the opening in 1971, this realization that there was this other life within the life that it's been an intellectual pursuit of mine to try and understand what that means, to have these two qualities in one's life, this mortal life of needing to sustain the life, but actually then there's this other aspect which is about grace. So the pursuit and the following of grace is something which has been an equal interest of mine. So I think that's probably enough about me, and enough about us. And I think what we want to do in these conversations is to promote, or to describe, and to expand our own understandings of the role of enterprise in human affairs, and in Seward in particular. So do you want to start off on that with your view, Conrad? The role of enterprise. What does it mean for you?
Well, I think when I went to the World Congress in 1971 in Indonesia, Subud has a world gathering of its members about every 4 years in a different location. And the one in 1971 was held in Jakarta, which is where the founder of Subud actually came from. And the president of Indonesia opened the affair, which was quite something in itself, actually. But then the founder of Subud, Bapak Muhammad Sumo Hadi Wijoyo, he talked about how people needed to undertake enterprises to deliver social benefits so that they have the resources to look after each other, care for each other, and things like that, which he said was actually, he felt was actually God's will for humanity, that we should all care about each other and look after each other and do the best for each other. So, but I was a computer guy at the time. I was installing computers in lots of different businesses. So I worked for a computer supplier, and the job was in those days to introduce computers to most businesses because they were all running on manual systems. So I was quite keen and interested in business generally, and I thought that what Buffett was talking about was a business. And so I readily joined in the idea, and within the Subud organization, the enterprise development part that promoted this idea of setting up businesses to make money so that we could deliver social benefit. Well, I think it's taken time and years of Latian for me to receive a different kind of understanding of what was required of Subud members. It was more to do with this concept or this idea of, the Latian's all about learning to follow the will of Almighty God in this sort of spiritual exercise that we do of surrendering to God's power a couple of times a week and longer than that as time goes on. But then to begin to feel that actually this following of Almighty God's will could lead you to follow things in the outer world that would look like enterprises or businesses or things that would ultimately be of benefit to humanity. And so now I've been given this job of promoting enterprise around the world in Subud circles and encouraging people to follow this thing. Because I believe that if we do, we get what's necessary from Almighty God to help us implement these things that emerge in our Latians. There we go. That's all I want to say. What about you, Lucas?
I think it's interesting what you say. The picture that I have of how the Latihan integrates with my mortal existence is that there are paths of opportunity which get laid out in front of us. And if you're quiet and if you're aware, these paths of opportunity can lead you to be, I mean, that's what they are. They're paths of opportunity which leads to activity, which leads to, doing something. And the hopeful thing is that this is for the benefit of, one's life. And so that's something that is very baked into my understanding about how the Latihan works in the outer sense, is that but it does actually also have a requirement. If you're fully if you're fully engaged in today and a path appears in front of you which takes you to tomorrow, you have a choice whether you stay in today or you get into tomorrow. And I can see that for many people, the getting into tomorrow with a taking a risk to following a path is it requires an act of courage, and that I think is something which is probably more important. The act of courage, the requirement of courage, is what's actually needed to pursue, to follow these paths. It's also my experience in following these paths, and I've had this as an understanding, is that this path is that comes to you is in a way all encompassing. It's a direction that you should be going in, but also it shows, on that path is the wherewithal and the means become evident about how to achieve something. So if you see an opportunity to to do something, then the way of doing it is also there as part of it, as you're aware, and you continue to have this feeling of courage. So that's my view on how the latter hand works in an everyday life. I think now, having done latter hand for 50 odd years, and having observed Subud as an organization for that long, and I was very busy in the organization 40 years ago. The thing that I think is needed now is for people to try and encourage people to have courage to put this latter hand into practice, and to, when these paths of opportunity appear in our lives, and I'm sure everybody actually has these paths of opportunity appearing in life, to take that step, to be open to taking that step into this other guidance in your life. I have struggled over the years. I initially thought, like many people, Bob talked about enterprise, and people seemed to understand that he was talking about business. One of the other things that he said, you shouldn't really believe what I tell you unless you receive it yourself, unless you believe it yourself. And I have come to this conclusion that for me, in my experience, enterprise is actually, it's not about business. It's about putting the latter hand into practice. It's about making an outward effort. And there was some view at one time that the word enterprise in Indonesian actually meant effort. That's what it meant, effort. That's actually what it was. So the requirement of surrender to receive the latter hand was balanced by this this other requirement to make an effort in one's life, to be willing to find some courage to follow. Basically, that's what it is. It's not blindly jumping off the cliff. It's about following this guidance which is laid out, and I'm absolutely convinced that, because I've seen it myself many times, that when you follow this path of outer activity, of courage, then something happens. So to me, I have a broader view of enterprise than was actually promoted. I mean, to me, enterprise is about making an effort, about being willing to take a chance, being willing to look into tomorrow as an opportunity rather than as something to be feared. And I've had many experiences in my life which have encouraged me to do that. to look to the future as being part of, we're part of an evolving process of becoming a human being, where this combination of guidance and following and making an effort is something that we're grappling with, and we're becoming better at it. There's a few things that I would like to say about my view on what this role of SES can do.
SES?
SES. Yeah,
What does SES mean?
SESI is Subud Enterprise Services International. It's that part of the organization. Actually, this goes back. I was part of the international organization in the 1980s, where there was a view that all these activities happened within the same organization. They weren't wings, as they've come to be known. They were an integrated part of the whole organization. So the whole organization needed to be entrepreneurial. It needed to be caring for people. It needed to be artistic. It needed to be health conscious. But over the years, this feeling has separated, and people and Subud has, in my mind, it's gone the wrong way in pushing these activities and separating them out into wings. So you will get an enterprise wing, and you will get a social welfare wing, and a Sushila Dharma. There's a health wing, and in SIHA, Subud International Health Association, there's an educators thing. So there are lots of separate parts of the organization which have been, in my view, pushed to the side. What I feel SESI can do, I mean, the problem in pushing them all into separate wings, you take the educators, for instance, or you take the health practitioners. They are expert. The educators are expert in teaching children, and they receive guidance on how to teach children. They're not particularly experienced in building schools, or owning schools, or making a profit in schools, or making them self-sufficient. And the same with cultural association, same with Seeker. These are artists, people who are writing or making pictures, or doing creative things. They're not particularly experienced in creating theatres or performance spaces, the practical things that actually are needed to do that. And this is what I currently believe that one of the roles that SES can do, because SES attracts those people who've got a practical bent and who are familiar with the world of money and making things happen and building, that SES can be the enabler of all these other wings that Subud has, so that we can build schools for teachers, we can build health centres for the health people, we can, and not only to do that, but we can refine what it is to be a Subud teacher. We can refine what it is to be a Subud health practitioner. What actually are we doing? And even though people are pursuing their own individual experiences and understanding, overall, I see that there is something that is similar to all those people, all those educators, say, who have started schools in Subud. And currently, there's 4 or 5 schools currently operating around the world, and they're generally efforts of individual people who have got expertise, who have been lucky enough to to be passionate enough to get their own little school going. I think SES can have a role in refining what it is that these, or yes, refining or clarifying what it is the essence of a school or training college or whatever, and being and providing the wherewithal and the expertise to bring these things into being, so that you don't have, one school here and in one country and one school there in another country. The real opportunity is to have 30, 50, 100 schools in each country, which they would all have a similar philosophical base, which is about, from what I understand with education, is about bringing about and fostering the individual talents and abilities of individual students, and in the process, bringing to life the expertise of the teachers. So I see there is apart from the idea of promoting enterprise, or people putting left hand into practice, I think there is an active role that SES can do in encouraging the refinement and exploration and expansion of all these individual bits of experience that people have, whether it's in education or health or finance or mining, or all aspects of human endeavor require some basic things to happen. They require culture, they require courage, they require a philosophical base, and I think you can get strength from refining what is important, and then that's the bit that you can replicate. An example of this, which we were part of in the 1990s, we started a company called Premier Hotels, which was I looked at the hotel, and this is, although it wasn't me, but one of the founding parts of the idea of the type of hotel that we were doing was that I was keen on providing a low cost, a well built. It had 3 or 4 things which I felt were very important. I distilled my understanding of what the hotel experience was. I wanted a decent shower. I didn't want to hear the neighbors. I wanted something that was simple to operate and simple to build, and we did that, and we were very successful in building 30 of these around the UK. So this is part of the process which I think can be applied to all activities. Is what is the important bit? What is the important bit of teaching? What is the important bit of healing? What is the important bit of culture? If you take the cultural thing, the main thing that performance artists or theatre goers have is they need a venue. They need a place where their talent can be displayed and promoted. So that's my view. I have this view of what I believe is an opportunity in the next 4 years. So,
well, I think in that regard, I think things are beginning to happen. We meet at these World Congresses every 4 years, and at the one we have recently in Indonesia, the interest groups come together and they talk about where they're at and what they're doing. So your example of the teachers, for instance, there were 20 or 30 teachers from different parts of the world that got together at various times during the couple of weeks we were together. And I joined their meeting, and we did talk about how can we begin to do something that combines our collective knowledge to come up with a a system or a scheme that works for us all and combines our knowledge. And so the Suburb Educators Association, I'm sure, is going to carry on with that kind of intention of bringing things together, because I mean, there was a realization amongst the teachers that there needs to be like a teacher training college, so that the knowledge that has been collected can be shared and used in new schools. So they're working on that now, and although you can just put an extension to an existing school, actually getting the teacher training college, and what is it you're going to teach them? I mean, that's the key. And what does a new school look like? I mean, how can we build schools? Because it's schools that places need, and where we were in Kalimantan, there was no doubt that all the local people wanted their children to have high quality education. And so the need there is to build schools that can deliver that. And so you've got to have not only the building, but probably more importantly, the teachers to deliver this education in the best way possible for the kids, to help them find what it is they're supposed to be doing in their lives. And there are lots of experienced teachers now in Suburb around the world who have been using various techniques to help improve that education service. And I think you're right. We've got to, if we can find ways to bring them together and to find a common goal, like let's build a teacher training college, let's get the content sorted out, and then once we've got it, we can replicate it in other places. That's, we've got experience of doing that. So I think it's beginning to happen actually. That
I agree.
Mm.
One of the things that I think that that you and I have been talking about recently is I can see that there are two aspects. You take a school, there are two aspects to it. There's the bricks and mortar of the building. That has to be financed. You have to find money to build it, and have build it. And then you have the content providers, which is the teachers who are in it. And so I see that. I mean, we have been talking about how do you do this front end of it? How do you do, what's the best way to do this thing in relation to buildings? And we have come up with this view that that actually the commercial model is not the right way. It's not the right way to go. There is another way where the building owner is a foundational trust that holds, that builds the building, owns the building, and has some arrangement with the people who use it. And I think this is something that we've spent a lot of time talking about, how actually to achieve the creation of a foundation, which is key to, I think, all these bits of human endeavor. And it also is something that you and I have been talking about, is about how different that would be when the owner of the building is not seeking to get a commercial rent from the content provider. It has its own long-term aim of providing security, and there will be some arrangement where some income will be generated from this activity, because every human activity produces something. It has some expenses and it has some income. There will be some income that will come to the foundation, but it is different when you try to run. And educated my own children in private schools in the United Kingdom. This is, 30 years ago, because I felt the normal school system, the state school system, was not attending to the needs of the children, and there was a lot of things, drug taking and things like that, which was prevalent in relation to schools. So I got to know, particularly in the private schools, where they were forever in, this problem of, making ends meet. A private enterprise running a school is a very difficult thing to do. The model needs to be closer to how government runs schools. There's a building. They don't look for a commercial return. So the difference could be, in a commercial project, you're looking to get your money back in somewhere between 10 and 20 years. So it's an aggressive pressure on the content to deliver in a commercial system. Whereas I think in the model which we're looking for, which is the creation of a foundation, which would develop and own the buildings and would work with the content providers in whatever field of activity that is. And also the foundation would directly get involved in things like hospitality businesses, which are money makers, and it would produce a net profit, and the revenue from these commercial activities is not going to shareholders, but it's going to social needs. And it could go back into funding the content providers. It could go into, welfare requirements wherever wherever we're active. So over the course of the next few weeks, I think we'll go into this in a little bit more detail.
It's simple. The two examples you've given so far indicate or show how relatively easy it can be if you take a foundation and it owns hotels that are making money. The money that it makes can be used to support the education activity.
Absolutely.
And that's simple, isn't it? And then
this is where I think the expertise of the philosophical base actually makes a difference. If you want a school, we'll buy a hotel, which fits our understanding of the needs, which is profitable, and the profit from that is available for the ongoing requirements for the school.
And of course, there are more things than hotels that make money.
Absolutely.
And some things that make a lot more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they're within the foundation, then a lot more money can be used for social benefit. It's
one of these other. I still see the full range of human activity as being content providing, and even something like mining has a role. How you do the mining is very important about how you deal with local people, whether they get any benefit from it.
Environmental impact is a big
the environmental impact, absolutely mitigating the environmental is phenomenally important, which is not generally done very well unless people are arm wrestled into it. I can see mining activity can be one of those things that we can do ethically. It can be funded by a foundation where the ownership of the core facility is owned there by a foundation, and the money is available for social welfare locally and internationally.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Yes.
So I think that's a good introduction of. Is there anything else you want to say on this kind of first one? We should try and keep it to under an hour. It's been 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine, Lucas. Let's keep it. As soon as I got the job in Indonesia, one of Subud's zone reps grabbed me and using his telephone said, "I want to interview you. Tell me what you're thinking now in sort of 10 or 15 minutes." And he recorded it and they put that on YouTube. It was the zone rep, I think zone 8, which is Central South America. And yeah, so yeah, so
Yes,
that's
well,
available on YouTube too.
I will, this is being recorded and I'll put this up on, I mean, I have a YouTube channel. I can certainly get it up there and, you know, give you the link.
Okay, very good, thanks.
So
and we'll put it up on the Subud Enterprise website. You know, we'll start to let people know that this exists, so that we can discuss things. And actually, if any of them want to come on, we could use them to join in the discussion.
Yeah, I would see that this will evolve into being, you know, a forum of bringing people together. I think that's actually fundamentally what SESI can do is bringing people with similar interests and experience together. You know, with others who have complementary skills, you know, to help bring something into being.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for today.
Okay, that's great, Conrad. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, bro.
We'll talk later anyway, huh?
Yeah.